Title: Journey into the Unknown. The evening sun cast long shadows through the dense foliage of the ancient forest, painting the scene in a surreal mixture of light and darkness. In the heart of the woods, where few dared to tread, stood a solitary figure, their eyes fixed upon a weathered parchment clutched tightly in their hand. Meet our protagonist, Emily Sinclair, an adventurous soul with a thirst for the unknown. Tonight, her curiosity had led her deep into the forest, drawn by whispers of ancient mysteries and forgotten secrets. As she gazed upon the faded map before her, a sense of excitement coursed through her veins, mingled with a hint of trepidation. The parchment bore cryptic symbols and faded ink, a testament to its age and the countless hands through which it had passed. Yet, amidst the wear and tear, one phrase remained clear: follow the path to uncover the truth. With a determined nod, Emily tucked the map into her satchel and took a step forward, the forest enveloping her in its embrace. The air was thick with the scent of pine and earth, and the distant sound of rustling leaves seemed to beckon her onward. As she ventured deeper into the heart of the forest, Emily felt a sense of exhilaration wash over her. The thrill of the unknown danced on the edges of her consciousness, fueling her every step as she pushed forward into uncharted territory. But as the shadows grew longer and the light began to fade, Emily's excitement gave way to a creeping sense of unease. Strange whispers seemed to echo through the trees, and the rustling of unseen creatures sent shivers down her spine. Undeterred, Emily pressed on, her resolve unwavering in the face of the unknown. With each passing moment, the forest seemed to come alive around her, its secrets unfolding like pages in a forbidden tome. And so, guided by the call of adventure and driven by her insatiable curiosity, Emily Sinclair embarked on a journey into the unknown, unaware of the dangers that lurked just beyond the trees. Little did she know her path would soon lead her to the brink of discovery, where ancient horrors awaited to be unearthed, and the line between myth and reality blurred into oblivion. As the moon ascended into the night sky, casting an ethereal glow over the forest, Emily pressed deeper into the shadowed realm of ancient trees. The air grew colder, and an eerie silence descended upon the forest, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves or the distant hoot of an owl. With each step, the sense of foreboding that had gripped Emily since her arrival intensified. The forest seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, its secrets whispering through the darkness like ghosts of the past. Suddenly, a faint light flickered ahead, drawing Emily's attention like a beacon in the night. With cautious optimism, she quickened her pace, the rustling of her footsteps drowned out by the pounding of her heart. Emerging from the dense undergrowth, Emily found herself standing before the ruins of an ancient village, its crumbling buildings shrouded in darkness. A chill ran down her spine as she surveyed the scene before her, the air thick with an unspoken sense of dread. The village appeared deserted, its streets empty save for the encroaching tendrils of ivy and moss. Yet as Emily ventured deeper into its heart, she could sense a presence lurking in the shadows, watching her every move with unseen eyes. Drawn by an irresistible curiosity, Emily stepped cautiously through the silent streets, her senses alert to the slightest sound or movement. It was then that she heard it, the faint echo of whispered voices drifting on the cold night breeze. Heart pounding, Emily followed the sound to the remnants of a once grand mansion, its walls adorned with faded tapestries and broken windows. As she approached, the whispers grew louder, their words unintelligible yet filled with a sense of urgency. With trembling hands, Emily pushed open the creaking door and stepped inside, the darkness enveloping her like a suffocating blanket. The air was heavy with the scent of decay, and the floorboards groaned beneath her weight as she moved deeper into the mansion's depths. Suddenly, a figure stepped out from the shadows, its form shrouded in darkness. Emily froze, her breath catching in her throat as she stared into the empty eyes of the apparition before her. With a blood-curdling scream, Emily turned and fled, the echoes of her footsteps ringing through the abandoned mansion as she raced towards the safety of the forest beyond. But as she stumbled out into the night, gasping for breath, Emily knew that she had stumbled upon something far more sinister than she could have ever imagined. And as the whispers of the haunted forest echoed in her ears, she realized that her journey into the unknown had only just begun. As dawn broke over the haunted forest, casting a golden hue over the landscape, Emily emerged from the shadows of the abandoned village, her mind reeling from the horrors she had witnessed. Determined to uncover the truth behind the whispers that haunted her every step, she resolved to press on, deeper into the heart of the unknown. With each passing hour, the forest seemed to come alive around her, its ancient trees whispering secrets that danced on the edges of her consciousness. But amidst the cacophony of sound, Emily could sense a presence watching her, guiding her every move with unseen hands. It was then that she stumbled upon a clearing bathed in sunlight, the air alive with the hum of insects and the distant chirping of birds. At the center of the clearing stood a figure cloaked in shadow, their features obscured by the glare of the sun. As Emily approached, the figure stepped forward, revealing themselves to be a tall, imposing figure with piercing eyes that seemed to see straight through her soul. They introduced themselves as Lucian, a guide of the forest, and offered to lead Emily to safety. Though wary of this enigmatic stranger, Emily sensed a glimmer of trust in Lucian's eyes, a feeling that urged her to follow him deeper into the forest. And so, with a mixture of apprehension and curiosity, she fell into step beside him, their journey into the unknown unfolding with each passing moment. As they walked, Lucian regaled Emily with tales of the forest's dark history, weaving a tapestry of ancient legends and forgotten lore that sent shivers down her spine. He spoke of a time long ago when the forest was alive with magic, its secrets guarded by powerful beings that dwelled within its depths. But as the centuries passed and civilization encroached upon its borders, the forest began to wither and fade, its guardians driven into hiding by the march of progress. Now only whispers remained, echoes of a time long forgotten by all but the most intrepid explorers. As the day wore on and the shadows grew long, Emily found herself growing more and more entranced by Lucian's words, drawn deeper into the mysteries of the forest with each passing moment. And as they ventured ever further from the safety of the clearing, she knew that her fate was irrevocably intertwined with that of the enigmatic guide by her side. Little did she know their journey would soon lead them to the very heart of the forest, where ancient secrets lay waiting to be uncovered, and the true nature of their quest would be revealed. As dusk descended upon the haunted forest, Emily and Lucian pressed deeper into its depths, their footsteps echoing through the dense undergrowth. The air was heavy with the scent of earth and decay, and a palpable sense of unease hung over them like a shroud. Guided by Lucian's unwavering determination, the pair journeyed onward, their path illuminated by the soft glow of moonlight filtering through the canopy above. With each passing moment, Emily could feel the forest closing in around them, its ancient trees whispering secrets that sent chills down her spine. Finally, they emerged into a clearing bathed in silvery light, the air alive with the sound of rustling leaves and the distant hoot of an owl. At the center of the clearing stood a towering structure, its weathered stone walls adorned with intricate carvings and strange symbols. It was a temple, ancient and forbidding, its origins lost to the mists of time. As Emily approached, she could feel a sense of power emanating from its walls, drawing her ever closer with an irresistible pull. With a silent nod from Lucian, Emily stepped forward, her heart pounding in her chest as she crossed the threshold into the temple's hallowed halls. Inside, The air was thick with the scent of incense and the faint echo of whispered prayers, and Emily could feel the weight of centuries pressing down upon her. As they ventured deeper into the temple's depths, Emily's senses were overwhelmed by the sights and sounds that surrounded her. Strange symbols adorned the walls, their meanings lost to all but the most learned scholars, while eerie statues loomed in the darkness like silent sentinels. But amidst the chaos, Emily could sense a presence watching her, its gaze following her every move with unnerving intensity. It was then that she realized they were not alone in the temple, and that whatever lurked in its shadows was far more ancient and malevolent than anything she had encountered before. With Lucian at her side, Emily pressed on, determined to uncover the truth behind the temple's mysteries and the secrets that lay hidden within its walls. But as they delved ever deeper into the darkness, she knew that they were treading on dangerous ground, and that the true nature of their journey had only just begun. As Emily and Lucian ventured deeper into the depths of the ancient temple, the air grew thick with the scent of decay, and the echoes of their footsteps reverberated through the darkness. With each passing moment, the oppressive weight of the temple's secrets bore down upon them, threatening to engulf them in a sea of madness. Strange visions haunted Emily's dreams, twisted nightmares that seemed to blur the line between reality and illusion. She saw faces in the shadows, their eyes filled with a bottomless despair, and heard whispers that spoke of unspeakable horrors lurking just beyond the edge of her consciousness. But despite the darkness that threatened to consume her, Emily pressed on, driven by a determination to uncover the truth behind the temple's mysteries. With Lucian at her side, she faced each new challenge with a courage born of desperation, her sanity hanging by a thread as she delved ever deeper into the heart of the unknown. As they journeyed deeper into the temple's depths, the line between reality and illusion began to blur, and Emily found herself questioning the true nature of their quest. Were they truly seeking knowledge and enlightenment, or were they merely pawns in a game played by forces beyond their understanding? With each passing moment, Emily could feel the darkness closing in around her, its tendrils wrapping themselves around her soul and dragging her ever closer to the brink of madness. But still, she pressed on, driven by a determination to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. And as they ventured deeper into the depths of the temple, Emily knew that their journey was far from over, and that the horrors that awaited them were beyond anything she could have ever imagined. But still, she refused to turn back, her resolve unbroken in the face of the unknown. As Emily and Lucian descended further into the depths of the ancient temple, the air grew heavy with anticipation, each step echoing through the labyrinthine corridors like a drumbeat of impending doom. Shadows danced upon the walls, twisting and contorting in unnatural shapes, as if the very fabric of reality itself had begun to unravel. With each passing moment, the darkness seemed to grow more tangible, its presence pressing down upon them like a suffocating blanket. Emily could feel the weight of its gaze upon her, a malevolent force that sought to consume her soul and drag her down into the abyss. But still, she pressed on, her determination unyielding in the face of the unknown. With Lucian at her side, she ventured deeper into the heart of the temple, their footsteps echoing through the darkness like a dirge for the damned. And then they found it, a chamber shrouded in darkness, its walls adorned with ancient runes and symbols that pulsed with a sickly green light. At its center stood a pedestal, upon which rested an object of unimaginable power, an artifact that radiated with a darkness so profound that it seemed to swallow the very light around it. With a sense of dread gnawing at her insides, Emily approached the pedestal, her hand outstretched to touch the artifact. But before she could grasp it, a voice echoed through the chamber, a whisper that seemed to come from the depths of the abyss itself. "You dare to defile this sacred place?" the voice hissed, its words dripping with venom. You who are but insects crawling upon the surface of creation, thinking yourselves worthy of its secrets. Emily froze, her heart pounding in her chest as she turned to face the source of the voice. Before her stood a figure cloaked in darkness, its form shifting and twisting like smoke in the wind. Its eyes burned with a malevolent light, and its lips curled into a twisted smile that sent shivers down Emily's spine. With a sinking feeling in the pit of her stomach, Emily realized that they had stumbled upon something far more ancient and powerful than she could have ever imagined. And as the figure stepped forward, its true form revealed in all its horrifying glory, she knew that their confrontation with the unknown had only just begun. As the ancient figure loomed before them, its presence casting a shadow over the chamber, Emily and Lucian stood their ground, their resolve unbroken in the face of unimaginable terror. With every fiber of their being, they summoned the strength to confront the darkness that threatened to consume them, their hearts pounding in their chests as they prepared for the final battle. With a voice that echoed through the chamber like thunder, the ancient figure spoke, its words reverberating through Emily's mind like a dagger to the soul. It spoke of ancient prophecies and forgotten truths, of powers beyond mortal comprehension that lay waiting to be unleashed upon the world. But even as the figure spoke of doom and destruction, Emily refused to surrender to despair. With a fierce determination burning in her eyes, she reached deep within herself, tapping into reserves of strength she never knew she possessed. With a defiant cry, Emily unleashed a torrent of energy, her willpower colliding with the darkness that surrounded them in a blaze of light and sound. For a moment, the chamber trembled with the force of their clash, the very fabric of reality itself hanging in the balance. And then, in a flash of blinding light, the darkness was vanquished, its malevolent presence banished back into the depths from whence it came. With a triumphant cry, Emily and Lucian emerged from the chamber victorious, their spirits uplifted by the knowledge that they had triumphed over the forces of darkness. As they made their way back to the surface, the forest seemed to welcome them with open arms, its ancient trees whispering secrets of gratitude and relief. And as they emerged into the light of day, Emily knew that their journey into the unknown had come to an end. But though the temple lay behind them, its mysteries uncovered and its darkness vanquished, Emily knew that their adventure was far from over. For as long as there were secrets waiting to be uncovered and mysteries waiting to be solved, she and Lucian would be there to answer the call of adventure, their hearts forever bound together by the bonds of friendship and the thrill of the unknown. In the heart of a dense forest hidden away from prying eyes stood an ancient mansion. Its once grand facade was now a crumbling testament to forgotten glory. Overgrown ivy snaked its way up the decaying walls, and shattered windows stared out like empty eye sockets. Locals whispered tales of the mansion being cursed, haunted by the spirits of those who had met untimely ends within its walls. On a moonless night, 5 adventurous teenagers dared each other to spend the night in the abandoned mansion. Their names were Alex, Sarah, Max, Emily, and Jake. Fueled by bravado and youthful curiosity, they crept through the forest, their flashlights cutting through the thick darkness. As they reached the mansion's imposing entrance, a chill ran down their spines. The air seemed to grow colder, and the wind whispered ominous warnings. Ignoring their growing unease, they pushed open the creaking door and stepped inside. The interior was even more decrepit than they had imagined. Dusty furniture lay strewn about, and cobwebs hung from the ceiling like eerie tapestries. The scent of decay hung heavy in the air, suffocating their senses. With nervous laughter, they explored the mansion, their footsteps echoing through the empty halls. But as the night wore on, strange things began to happen. Shadows danced in the corners of their vision, and faint whispers echoed through the corridors. Just as they were beginning to regret their decision, a blood-curdling scream pierced the silence, freezing them in their tracks. Panic-stricken, they realized that one of their own was missing. Emily's scream echoed through the mansion, sending shivers down the spines of her friends. Frantically, they searched every room, calling out her name, but there was no sign of her. Fear gripped their hearts as they realized that they were not alone in the mansion. With trembling hands, they huddled together, their minds racing with terror. What could have taken Emily? Was it the curse of the mansion come to life, or something far more sinister? As they debated their next move, a chill wind swept through the mansion, extinguishing their flashlights and plunging them into darkness. Panic set in as they groped blindly in the blackness, their hearts pounding with fear. Suddenly, a faint light flickered in the distance, drawing them towards it like moths to a flame. With cautious steps, they followed the light, their senses heightened to the slightest sound. As they reached the source of the light, they found themselves in a vast, cavernous room. In the center stood a grand staircase, its steps worn with age. At the top of the staircase, a figure stood shrouded in shadow, beckoning them forward with a ghostly hand. With trepidation, they ascended the staircase, each step echoing like a drumbeat in the stillness of the night. As they reached the top, the figure before them vanished into thin air, leaving behind only the chilling laughter that echoed through the empty halls. Confusion and fear gripped the group as they stood at the top of the staircase, the echoes of the ghostly laughter fading into the silence of the mansion. Their hearts pounded in their chests as they tried to make sense of what they had just witnessed. Sarah, the most level-headed of the group, spoke up, her voice trembling slightly. "We need to find Emily and get out of here. Whatever's going on, it's not safe." Nodding in agreement, the others cast wary glances around the dimly lit room. Shadows danced on the walls, and strange whispers seemed to emanate from the very air itself. The oppressive atmosphere weighed heavily on them, pressing down like an invisible force. Max, the self-proclaimed skeptic of the group, scoffed nervously. "This is ridiculous. There's no such thing as ghosts. Emily probably just got lost or wandered off somewhere." Before anyone could respond, a sudden gust of wind rattled the windows, causing them to shake in their frames. The whispers grew louder, filling the room with an otherworldly chorus of voices. Words seemed to form in the cacophony, but they were unintelligible, like fragments of a long-forgotten language. Jake, usually the joker of the group, paled visibly, his bravado crumbling in the face of the unknown. "Okay, maybe there's something weird going on here," he muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. With a sense of urgency, they pressed on, determined to find Emily and escape the haunted mansion. But with each passing moment, the feeling of dread only grew stronger, as if some malevolent presence were watching their every move, waiting to strike. As they continued their search for Emily, the mansion seemed to twist and shift around them, corridors leading to dead ends and rooms appearing where none had been before. Time lost its meaning as they wandered through the endless labyrinth of the haunted mansion, their sense of direction slipping away like grains of sand through their fingers. In the midst of their confusion, they were assailed by visions from the past. Ghostly apparitions flickered in and out of existence, replaying scenes of horror and tragedy. They saw glimpses of the mansion's dark history, of lives lost and souls trapped within its walls. Sarah stumbled upon a dusty old photograph lying forgotten on a decrepit table. It depicted a family, their faces twisted in anguish, standing in front of the mansion many years ago. With a sinking feeling in her heart, she recognized the faces as those of the mansion's former occupants, the victims of a tragic fire that had consumed the mansion decades ago. Max's skepticism wavered as he witnessed the spectral images that haunted the mansion's halls. "This place is cursed," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the ghostly wails that echoed through the corridors. Emily's voice echoed in their minds, a haunting reminder of the friend they had lost. With renewed determination, they pressed on, their only hope of escape lying in finding her and unraveling the mysteries of the mansion. But as they delved deeper into the darkness, they realized that the true horror of the mansion was not in its crumbling walls or ghostly apparitions, but in the memories it held, memories of pain, loss, and the unending torment of those who had dared to trespass upon its cursed grounds. Driven by desperation and fear, the remaining four friends ventured deeper into the mansion, their flashlights barely piercing the thick darkness that surrounded them. Each step forward felt like a descent into madness, the oppressive atmosphere weighing heavily on their souls. They stumbled upon a room unlike any they had seen before. The walls were lined with mirrors, their surfaces tarnished and cracked, reflecting distorted images of the group back at them. As they cautiously approached, they noticed something odd. Their reflections seemed to move independently, their faces contorting into grotesque masks of anguish. Max reached out tentatively to touch one of the mirrors, his fingers grazing the cold surface. In an instant, his reflection reached out and grabbed him, pulling him into the mirror's depths with a chilling scream. Shock and horror washed over the remaining three friends as they watched helplessly, unable to save their friend from whatever fate awaited him on the other side. With trembling hands, they tried to pry him free, but it was no use. The mirror held him captive, its surface rippling like water. As they stood in stunned silence, they heard Max's voice echoing from within the mirror, distorted and twisted by unseen forces. "Help me," he pleaded, his words filled with agony. "Get out while you still can." With a heavy heart, they realized that they were running out of time. The mansion was a prison, trapping them within its cursed walls, and they were powerless to escape its grasp. With a newfound sense of urgency, they vowed to find a way out, no matter the cost. But as they turned to leave, they realized that the mansion had other plans for them, plans that would plunge them into the depths of terror and despair. With Max trapped within the mirror, the remaining three friends pressed on, their resolve tested by each passing moment. They stumbled upon a hidden chamber deep within the mansion, its walls adorned with strange symbols and arcane markings. In the center of the room lay an ancient tome, its pages yellowed with age and bound in cracked leather. As they approached, a sense of foreboding washed over them, but they knew that they had no choice but to uncover the secrets that lay within. With trembling hands, Sarah opened the tome, revealing pages filled with cryptic incantations and forbidden rituals. As she scanned the text, her blood ran cold. The mansion was bound by a curse that could only be broken by performing a ritual of sacrifice. Emily's fate became clear as they read on. She was to be the vessel through which the curse would be broken, her life offered up to appease the spirits that haunted the mansion. But there was a catch. Once the ritual began, there would be no turning back. Emily's soul would be forever bound to the mansion, condemned to wander its halls for eternity. Torn between their desire to save their friend and the knowledge that they may never escape the mansion's clutches, the remaining three friends faced an impossible choice. With heavy hearts, they knew that they had no other option. They would have to perform the ritual and hope that it was enough to break the curse once and for all. But as they prepared to enact the ancient incantation, a sense of dread washed over them. They knew that the ritual would come at a price that would haunt them long after they had escaped the mansion's grasp. And as they uttered the final words of the incantation, they braced themselves for the horrors that awaited them on the other side. As the last words of the ritual echoed through the chamber, a deafening silence fell over the mansion. The air grew heavy with anticipation as the three friends waited, their hearts pounding in their chests. Suddenly, the ground began to tremble beneath their feet, and the walls of the chamber shook violently. A blinding light filled the room as the curse that had plagued the mansion for centuries was finally broken. But as the light faded, they realized that their ordeal was far from over. Standing before them was a spectral figure, the embodiment of all the suffering and anguish that had plagued the mansion for so long. With a blood-curdling scream, the spirit lunged at them, its twisted form contorting in the darkness. Sarah, Jake, and Emily stood their ground, their courage bolstered by the knowledge that they had faced their fears and emerged victorious. In a final act of desperation, they unleashed the power of the ritual, banishing the spirit back to the depths of the mansion once and for all. As the echoes of their victory faded, they found themselves standing outside the mansion, bathed in the warm light of the rising sun. Their ordeal was finally over, but the memories of their harrowing experience would stay with them forever. As they made their way back to civilization, they knew that they would carry the weight of their shared trauma with them, a reminder of the darkness that lurked within the abandoned mansion. But despite the horrors they had faced, they emerged stronger, their bond forged in the crucible of fear and survival. And as they looked back at the mansion one last time, they knew that they had conquered their demons, and that nothing would ever be able to break their spirit again. In the heart of the dense Blackwood forest stood an imposing mansion known as Blackwood Manor. Legend had it that the mansion was cursed, and those who dared to dwell within its walls would be plagued by unspeakable horrors. The tale began with the arrival of the Peterson family. Seeking solace from the chaos of city life, they purchased the mansion with hopes of starting anew. John Peterson, a successful lawyer, saw it as an opportunity for his family to reconnect and rediscover the simple joys of life. As they settled into their new home, strange occurrences began to unfold. Doors creaked open on their own, whispers echoed through the halls at night, and shadows danced in the moonlight. At first, the family brushed off these events as mere coincidences, but as the days turned into weeks, the atmosphere grew increasingly eerie. One evening, as the family gathered for dinner in the grand dining hall, a chilling wind swept through the room, extinguishing the candles and plunging them into darkness. Panic ensued as they fumbled for matches, but before they could relight the candles, they heard a blood-curdling scream emanating from the depths of the mansion. Terrified, the Petersons huddled together, their hearts pounding in their chests. They knew then that Blackwood Manor held secrets far darker than they could have ever imagined. And little did they know their descent into madness had only just begun. As the Petersons struggled to comprehend the horrors unfolding within Blackwood Manor, they found themselves increasingly isolated from the outside world. The dense forest surrounding the mansion seemed to swallow their cries for help, leaving them at the mercy of whatever malevolent force lurked within. Night after night, they were tormented by restless sleep and haunting nightmares. Strange figures appeared at the foot of their beds, their features shrouded in darkness, and whispered threats echoed through the halls, filling the air with a palpable sense of dread. Desperate for answers, John Peterson delved into the history of the mansion, hoping to uncover the source of their torment. His research led him to a grim discovery. Blackwood Manor had a dark past marred by tragedy and death. Decades earlier, the mansion had been the site of a gruesome murder-suicide, in which the former owner had taken the lives of his family before ending his own. Legend had it that their restless spirits still roamed the halls, seeking vengeance on anyone who dared to trespass upon their domain. Armed with this knowledge, John resolved to confront the malevolent presence that lurked within Blackwood Manor. But little did he know, the darkness that had taken root within the mansion had no intention of letting them escape its grasp. Driven by a sense of determination mixed with fear, John delved deeper into the history of Blackwood Manor. His research led him to a hidden chamber in the mansion's cellar, filled with dusty tomes and arcane symbols etched into the walls. As he pored over the ancient texts, John uncovered the truth behind the curse that had befallen Blackwood Manor. Centuries ago, the land upon which the mansion stood had been the site of a witches' coven, practicing dark rituals and communing with malevolent entities. The leader of the coven, a powerful sorceress known as Lilith Blackwood, had cursed the land and all who dwelled upon it, condemning them to an eternity of suffering and despair. Her vengeful spirit, bound to the mansion, sought to claim the souls of any who dared to disturb her slumber. Realizing the magnitude of the threat they faced, John knew that they had to break the curse before it consumed them all. But to do so would require confronting Lilith's spirit and banishing her from the mortal realm once and for all. With a heavy heart and trembling hands, John gathered his family and prepared to confront the darkness that had taken root within Blackwood Manor. Little did they know, their fate had been sealed the moment they set foot within its walls. Armed with ancient incantations and talismans gleaned from the dusty tomes in the hidden chamber, John led his family into the heart of Blackwood Manor. The air grew thick with tension as they descended deeper into the labyrinthine corridors, their footsteps echoing off the walls. Finally, they reached the chamber where Lilith's spirit was said to dwell. The room was bathed in an eerie glow, casting long shadows that seemed to dance and writhe upon the walls. As they entered, a sense of foreboding washed over them, chilling them to the bone. Suddenly, the temperature plummeted, and a ghostly figure materialized before them. Lilith Blackwood, her ethereal form twisted and contorted with rage, fixed her gaze upon the intruders with burning intensity. "You dare to trespass upon my domain?" Her voice echoed through the chamber, sending shivers down their spines. "You shall suffer the same fate as those who came before you." Undeterred, John stepped forward, brandishing the talismans and reciting the incantations with trembling resolve. As he spoke, the air crackled with energy, and the very walls of the chamber seemed to tremble. But Lilith was not so easily defeated. With a deafening shriek, she unleashed a barrage of dark magic, hurling the Petersons across the room like rag dolls. They cried out in agony as invisible forces gripped them, threatening to tear their souls asunder. In their darkest hour, with the malevolent spirit closing in around them, the Petersons realized that their only hope lay in confronting the darkness within themselves. With every ounce of strength they could muster, they fought back against the encroaching shadows, clinging to the flicker of hope that burned within their hearts. As the darkness closed in around them, the Petersons knew that defeating Lilith would require more than just incantations and talismans. It would require sacrifice of the deepest, most profound kind. With grim determination, John and his family huddled together, their minds racing for a solution. In a moment of clarity, Sarah, John's wife, realized the only way to break the curse was to offer themselves as vessels to contain Lilith's boundless rage. "I will do it," Sarah declared, her voice trembling but resolute. "I will offer myself to Lilith, and in doing so, I will become the vessel that binds her spirit." Tears welled in John's eyes as he realized the gravity of Sarah's sacrifice, but he knew that it was their only chance at salvation. With a heavy heart, he nodded in agreement, knowing that his love for his wife and children outweighed any fear he felt. Together, they forged a plan to lure Lilith into their midst, using themselves as bait to draw her spirit close. As the chamber filled with the oppressive weight of her presence, they stood their ground, ready to face whatever horrors awaited them. And then, in a blinding flash of light, Lilith descended upon them, her spectral form twisting and writhing with boundless fury. But instead of striking out with her dark magic, she hesitated, sensing the power of their sacrifice. With a mournful wail, Lilith's spirit surged forward, engulfing Sarah and her family in an ethereal embrace. For a moment, time seemed to stand still as their souls intertwined, their sacrifice sealing Lilith's spirit within their own. As the chamber fell silent, the darkness that had shrouded Blackwood Manor began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of peace that had long eluded its halls. And though the Petersons had paid a heavy price, they knew that their sacrifice had saved not only themselves, but countless others from the curse of Blackwood Manor. In the aftermath of their harrowing ordeal, the Peterson family emerged from Blackwood Manor forever changed. Though scarred by the trauma they had endured, they carried with them a newfound sense of purpose and resilience. Word of their bravery spread far and wide, and soon they found themselves hailed as heroes within the community. But deep down, they knew that their victory had come at a great cost, one that would haunt them for the rest of their days. As they settled back into their normal lives, the memory of Blackwood Manor lingered like a shadow, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked just beyond the veil of reality. But with each passing day, they found solace in the knowledge that their sacrifice had broken the curse and freed the souls trapped within its grasp. Years went by, and the tale of the Peterson family and their confrontation with the malevolent spirit of Lilith Blackwood became the stuff of legend. Though the mansion itself lay abandoned and decrepit, its dark legacy lived on in the hearts and minds of those who had heard the tale. But amidst the whispers and rumors, one truth remained clear. The Petersons had faced their demons head-on and emerged victorious, leaving behind a legacy of courage and sacrifice that would endure for generations to come. And though Blackwood Manor stood as a silent sentinel to their ordeal, its walls held no power over them, for they had conquered the darkness and emerged into the light once more. Years passed, and the memory of Blackwood Manor faded into the annals of history, becoming little more than a distant echo of a bygone era. The Peterson family, now grown and scattered across the country, carried on with their lives, each finding their own path forward. But despite their best efforts to leave the past behind, the echoes of Blackwood Manor lingered, haunting their dreams and stirring memories long buried. Sarah, in particular, found herself plagued by visions of the dark chamber where they had confronted Lilith, her restless spirit forever etched into her mind. Unable to shake the feeling of unease that gnawed at her soul, Sarah returned to Blackwood Manor one last time, hoping to find closure amidst the ruins of their former home. As she wandered the overgrown grounds, she was struck by a sense of nostalgia mixed with sadness, for the memories of their time there were bittersweet. But as Sarah stood before the crumbling facade of the mansion, she felt a strange sensation wash over her, a presence, faint but unmistakable, lingering within the shadows. Closing her eyes, she reached out with her senses, searching for any sign of the spirit that had once held them captive. And then, in a whisper of wind and rustling leaves, she heard it. The faint echo of Lilith's voice carried on the breeze like a distant memory. But instead of fear, Sarah felt a sense of peace wash over her, for she knew that the darkness that had once consumed them had been vanquished, its power broken by their sacrifice. With a final farewell to the place that had been both their prison and their salvation, Sarah turned and walked away, leaving behind the echoes of Blackwood Manor to fade into the mists of time. And though the scars of their ordeal would never fully heal, she knew that they had emerged stronger, their bond as a family unbreakable, and their legacy one of courage, sacrifice, and redemption.